I think we all kind of looked at this as, okay, this is going to be the year where they evaluate a couple of young quarterbacks, knowing that they had a couple of first-round picks next year, which was going to be when they get their guy, right? They get their franchise QB. So, I'll be honest, I thought the record would be a little bit better. I thought they could be 3-5 or 4-4. They probably should be at this point. In my mind, they kicked away the Minnesota game, which was a very winnable game because they couldn't stop Carson Wentz on that final drive. They make a field goal or an extra point in week 1, and they are 4-4. I think, what's compounded this and what makes it tougher for people to swallow is that, you've got a defense playing at a very high level. I'm not sure it's a championship level, but
with the exception of one drive against Minnesota. Yeah, you're right.
Sorry, I had to bring that up.
No, that's okay. It's true, though. I mean,
I know
I think
is
sometimes
true.
we sit here, we say, because I do it every day, I'm like, man, this defense deserves better. The defense deserves better. But, they had the opportunity to control things and put them in their own hands against Minnesota, and they didn't do it that game. So, but they were on the field for forever. I mean, I'll make a million excuses. Right. Bottom line is they're 2-6.
2-6, and the quarterback situation is still a mess. Which we kind of expected. I think the thing that really surprised me, Andy, most in the first 8 weeks was the decision to move off of Flacco so quickly. I felt like, my understanding was, and we can talk about this as we go on, my understanding was going into the year was that Kenny Pickett was going to be the guy, right? And that they were going to, let
something about that chair you're sitting in, because Jeff had said that every day, and I'm like, I just didn't understand it.
It's what I was told by people in the building over there, that the Pickett was the guy. And so when the hamstring injury happened and that kind of threw things off course, I didn't expect them to pivot and all of a sudden trade him for a 5th-round pick. Wait a minute, I thought he was supposed to be your starter. Compounded by Flacco looking like 67-year-old Joe Flacco and not the guy that we fell in love with 2 years ago, right? Mm-hmm. Then the trade just completely I don't even know how to describe what I was thinking. Like, how could you trade him to a team within the division? Knowing that once he got around weapons like he had here a couple of years ago with, Cooper and, however else, Judy wasn't here, but how they were able to get things going in 2023, I knew that as soon as Joe got down there, because of the way he can still spin the ball, that was going to turn out to be a good thing for the Bengals. And it has been. So
for sure.
That's the thing that really stunned me more than anything else here at the bottom.
Let me back up just because I want to walk through this with you. Why did they go away from Pickett? What was the rationale there?
I don't know, because the hamstring injury was obviously not catastrophic. I don't know. I really, it's a head scratcher because, and everybody, and we'll talk, I'm sure, we will talk a lot about Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur and where that all stands right now. I think, unfortunately for Dylan, if we could talk about him for 1 second in this window, is that we're viewing this kid, a 3rd-round pick, who is clearly not ready to play, and we're seeing him on the field in October, which was not in the plans, I don't think, by anybody. And I think if we were viewing him in December with 4 to 6 games to go, you'd be like, okay,
against a much easier schedule, too.
Yeah, with
or allegedly,
yeah. With little supporting cast right now. I mean, we'll talk about too this wide receivers room, which is just as bad as it is in the NFL. I mean, it's atrocious. So I think back to your original premise here, which is, where are things at here? I think this is a great time for them to kind of sit back, do the full evaluation that they've talked about doing, right? The self-scout. I'm anticipating Kevin giving up the play calling. I could be crazy, but I think it's gotten to that point where they got to try something, right? Mm-hmm. And if he's not going to make the move at starting quarterback, then I think he's at least got to, give that up to Tommy Rees just to see if something's going to spark it. Unfortunately, the situation now is compounded by injuries to Judkins, an offensive line that changes by the week.
Two times out of 7 games you were looking at, or what are we, 8 games? I mean, twice
that you've had the same offensive line. Yeah, and we knew going into the year that was going to be an issue, at least the depth for an aging, experienced offensive line. Right. So, it's not a pretty picture right now. Like I said, I think it's good that everybody, including fans, can kind of take a week off here and kind of reassess and see where they're at.
I just don't understand what the strategy was to where we are right now and why to bail on it in the middle. So you walk into this thing and you've got Pickett, you've got Flacco, you've got Gabriel, you've got Sanders, and you've got 4 quarterbacks. The worst thing they possibly could have done was draft 2 rookie quarterbacks. I just don't see the logic in it. And any leeway anyone was going to give to Gabriel because of things that you thought don't work. I know a lot of people want to talk about his height or his inability to get the ball downfield, all those things. You gave him no slack when you decided to draft Sanders. There was just and you know as well as I do that the most popular guy in town is the quarterback you don't know anything about out on the field, right? And if you stick with Pickett and Flacco and Gabriel and don't draft Sanders, there's no questions. And you know what? People around here might be like, hey, man, they put that Gabriel kid in a tough spot, and you know what? He's surviving. But that's not the picture. And they created the drama by drafting a second quarterback. And if they wanted Sanders, they should have just took Sanders and not Gabriel. And by the way, the rest of the draft has looked really good for Andrew Berry.
It has.
But people are going to go back and look at this draft and go, oh, wasn't that the year they took 2 quarterbacks?
Yeah.
Man, that draft must have been miserable.
Andy, my immediate reaction to the Sanders pick was, why would you do that to yourself? Now, listen, the kid's got some talent. I've seen it. I'm interested to see what he's going to do in a game. I'd hate to see him out there. I'd hate to see Tom Brady out there right now behind what they've got going on offensively. I don't think anybody could succeed. So for all the Sanders fans out there that want to see him on the field now is not the time. I think you want to give him a little bit more time to kind of figure things out or whatever. I also go back to those people over there know more about they've forgotten more about football than I'll know this morning. They've evaluated this kid as not being ready. They talk about coaches putting players in successful situations, right?
Absolutely.
They don't want to do that to the kid right now. They're doing it to Dylan Gabriel because they have no other choice because, to your point, they got off course with their plan, and there's no getting back on the road, right?
There are days I look at Kevin and I'm like, I think he'd rather have Bailey Zappi out there, no matter what.
I think you're right. But I think they're so far down the road, so to speak, now with Dylan that they've got to, let's figure it out. So, and listen, not making excuses for him, but I'm going to make a couple.
For Dylan.
Okay. 4 starts. First one on the road in London, right? Against a team that had been in England for 2 weeks, right? True. A pretty good defense. Oh, by the way, Flores knows what he's doing there. Week 2 at Pittsburgh.
By the way, first game, almost won.
Played well, didn't turn it over.
Right.
Goes to Pittsburgh against a team that's got its ears pinned back and is going to play like they always do against the Browns, right?
Right.
Haven't won there since regular season games since 2003. I don't know what people's expectations were for him to go in there and throw for 400 yards. I didn't like the fact that he dropped back 58 times. So be it. They come home and win in a rainstorm, right? Mm-hmm. Did he have a huge impact in that game? Not necessarily. Judkins probably won the game with the run, right? Didn't turn the ball over.
But when they got the ball on the short field, he was able to get him.
He was fine.
He was able to get him in, yeah.
This past week, good first half followed by, the kid was obviously forcing things in the second half. They went from, and he did get lucky in those first 3 starts on a couple balls that probably should have been picked, right? So
for sure.
That was a little bit misleading. So he plays okay in the first half, and then the wheels just come off. But everybody's ready to bury him, only because, to your point, the guy that's sitting behind him, the most popular guy in town, has got a social media platform and an army of fans that are supporting him. So, and listen, I think Shedeur's time will come. It's just not now. I think we're going to probably see him for 4 to 6 starts, and it's going to happen. And I think sooner than later. And I think that clock has been accelerated by the way Dylan has played the last couple of weeks. But I don't blame Kevin for sticking with this kid who he believes in.
The question is it going to cost Kevin his job? I just don't get.
But is it? I mean, when you went into the year, let me interrupt you 1 second.
Sure.
When you went into the year with the owners admitting finally publicly,
right,
that the Deshaun Watson was a hole that they created. And they knew that this year was going to be a difficult year.
Which, by the way, I mean, I know people want to crush Andrew Berry, but I'm looking again yesterday. I'm like, how many first-round picks does he have on this roster? 1.
Andy, I say that.
He has 1.
I'm glad you said that. I say that to people all the time. The biggest problem, there's so many problems with the Watson trade, right?
After they traded you, yeah, but yeah.
3 first-round picks. So imagine, if you will, right now they would have, let's say, a left tackle going into his 4th year, and a wide receiver going into his 3rd year, and maybe another cornerback going into his 2nd year, all first-round picks. And people will say, well, look at the guy who's picking them. Look at this class. And overall, his draft classes have not been that bad. I do think they've missed on, bringing in some more offensive linemen to create some depth at that position, which has been a huge problem for
it's just
30 years.
The return on investment, too, like for Whippler and Zinter, it's just they're not there. Right now, they're not. And so you do have 2 that he's drafted. They're just not. I just don't. Injury and
they're on the field a little bit more. I mean, at least Whippler is, right. He comes in with those jumbo packages they have now. But it's just everything's compounded. The trade was just and unfortunately when it didn't work out, and I worried about this, Andy, that it could set the franchise back for 10 years, and that's probably where we're going to be by the end of the day.
And you'll be walking into a new dome, hopefully with a team.
Hey.
And I think you're hoping to land on the same runway that the Indians did, right, when they moved in the new ballpark. That's what you're praying for right now. I think
you've developed young players, and they're all ready to hit at the same time.
What should the Browns' strategy be moving forward here now? What should they be thinking? And
in terms of beyond scoring points on Sundays or Thursday nights, or
what's the goal here? Like, why are we're all I'll even take it back a step. Like, we're vested on Sundays like nobody's business, and somehow, some way, we all believe on Sunday that when the Browns run out on the field, no matter who they're playing, that game means as much as getting to the Super Bowl.
The emotions take over on Sundays.
It's Sunday, man. True. We got to win. We got to win. It's Sunday. I don't care what we say. All week we told you this team is horrible. I hate that quarterback. Our line is getting old. We have no wide receivers. Why we can't do it? And then on Sunday, all of a sudden, poof, we wake up and we're like, oh.
And for the most part, to your point, Andy, everybody seems to accept that Monday through Saturday.
What is wrong with us?
Well, many of us in Cleveland have an unhealthy obsession and relationship with this Browns team. It's gone on for 50 years.
To be honest, our passion should probably,
be directed
but somewhere between the Cavaliers and the Guardians, 100%. If it was the same passion that the Indians felt, that passion when the Browns were gone. There was no question about it.
So the strategy going forward this year, obviously, unfortunately, Schlesinger, who I think has played at an unbelievable level. I was blown away by him in training camp and the preseason, knowing the responsibilities that he has as a middle linebacker and play caller for this defense, for Schwartz's defense, which is fairly complicated.
Right.
He's obviously a bright kid. He's obviously very talented as well. Now, there's been some times where he's gotten himself out of position because he's a little bit gung-ho at times, and a step or two, as you know, in the pro game can lead to a big play, right?
Right.
But he's been terrific. I think the strategy going forward here is keep these kids healthy, keep them positive and productive, evaluate this rookie class as best you can. Try to get what you can out of this quarterback situation. I know we're going to talk about this ad nauseum, and for good reason, because it is the one thing that continues to hang over this franchise more than anything else, the lack of a quarterback. You saw what Drake May has done to the Patriots. You watched that, right?
Yeah.
Firsthand on Sunday.
But why can't we be the Patriots, Tom? Why is it?
You made the worst trade in NFL history. That doesn't help.
It's not just that. It's everything since the team backed up and moved. Most teams, okay, we'll have a down year. We'll have another down year, a decent draft. Okay, we're back in it. Oh, we're playoff competitive. Oh, we might win a game. Okay, now we're going back down here.
Right.
Okay, now we're going back up. We're
and the league is designed to keep you competitive, and they still can't.
So at least now, and I mean, look at Kevin's numbers compared to other coaches that have been here before. At least we get to dip our toe in the water about being competitive late in the season and having the opportunity to make the playoffs. Right. That's the step forward. It's taken 26 years or whatever to get to.
Exactly, Andy. And unfortunately, too, is that you had an ownership group that was obviously impatient early on and then felt like they had learned their lessons and then started to practice some patience at the same time then that they make this historically bad trade, right? Which just compounds things, and it just leads to a trickle-down effect across the board. They've got to figure out, they've got to start getting these, not only this rookie class, but, you brought up Zinter before, you brought up Whippler before. Offensive line depth, that they got to find out if those guys are keepers going forward, right? That's another part of this strategy. The other thing I think we need to talk about, and I'm sure we will, is this Myles Garrett situation, because I know a lot of people were kind of up in arms that they didn't trade him when the contract demand came down in December, right?
But it was a mixed bag of emotion. Some people were like, hey, man, if he's going to go, let him go now. Let's do this now. If he doesn't want to play here, which is what he's telling everybody on press row at the Super Bowl, let him go. And then on the other side, why would you let one of the best defensive players in the NFL leave? He's on your roster right now. Why wouldn't you build around him? Why wouldn't you move forward? And if you look at it now, they're in good shape now on defense.
Oh, they're in great shape. Except he's not happy, and he's performing at an unbelievable level, and you saw the way he behaved on Sunday. The optics were terrible, weren't they?
Oh.
And now you're up against the trade deadline.
No, I say, is he a captain? Yes. Is he a leader? No, he's not. He just isn't. I'm sorry.
I think he's more of one than he's ever been, though, Andy.
But I look at Sunday and that picture of him sitting on the bench all alone at the end, and I felt the frustration for him at the end of the game when they took him out. I understood why they took him out. It didn't make any sense at that point to have him out on the field. But in his mind, if he's got alpha dog waves going between his ears, he's thinking, I want my sixth sack. He wants
a Derek Thomas record. Yeah,
yeah.
exactly
And so
right.
then I think that there's a fine line between, what is statistically good for you and what is good for the team, and then what is good for your long-term health.
Well, yeah, and that's a coaching decision, and that's fine. I had no problem with that.
So
but then,
he is an amazing football player. I have nothing for respect for him out on the field. But there are just times I'm like, is this? If you're that passionate at the end of the game, why aren't you getting in people's faces in the beginning of the game? That's just it. That's like, be that captain at the beginning, the middle, and the end. And that's I think we're looking for something like that. And I don't necessarily know if that's today's game, or maybe I'm just outdated, or what the situation is there. But
it's a good read by you. I'm the same way, and I'm almost the same way when he speaks on Fridays, because I'm typically out there helping out Scott Petrak, good friend of the show and good friend of mine with the Illyria Chronicle. Doing some freelance work for him. So I've been out there on Friday, so I'm out there for every Myles Garrett news conference, right? And there's weeks, to your point, Andy, about being a leader. There's weeks where Myles starts talking, and I almost want to say, nah, stop right there.
Right.
You've said enough, because you're about to go down, or you're about to get yourself into some choppy waters where you're going to say something bad against the organization, whatever, that's going to turn into a national headline, and everybody's going to think you're going to want to get out of town and what have you. But it is a real conversation I think we need to have here leading into the trade deadline. Can they trade him? Yeah, it's possible. I just don't know what you're going to get back in compensatory that's going to make any sense whatsoever, right?
Well, I mean, Browns fans around here are like, let's get 3 first-round picks. We want Deshaun Watson. Well, that contract is. I mean, you read about that. You read about the dead cap stuff. You're like, I don't know if it's. Are you going to rip up your contract? Then is the NFLPA going to be okay with that?
Yeah.
Does it look like tampering? Is it real? What is it?
There's ways for it to happen, but you've gotten to the point 10 months ago where you acknowledge that we can go forward together, right? You had a come to Jesus meeting with Myles,
but like Browns fans sit around and go, well, did he just do it for the money? Okay, if he just did it, well, just admit it. Like, I know he's never going to do it, but if he was just looking for more money, then just come out and say, hey, I want more money, and kind of hold out that way rather than say trade.
Which is why I thought it was a ploy from the get-go.
Yeah, why? But don't, again, he was like, I love the fans, I love all this, but...
I think that's true. I do. I think that's genuine. I think he likes it here.
And like LeBron, I don't have any problem with a legitimate superstar putting pressure on the organization to make sure that the players that are around him are they're not going to be the same level, but enough to make the team around him better. And I might have been one of the few people around here that love the fact that LeBron was signing these, 2-year deals with 1-year extensions, because it constantly put pressure on the general manager to bring in good players and don't go cheap.
Yep. No, I'm with you. I'm with, and I agree with you 100% too. I mean, Myles is a once in not a lifetime, but damn close to it. He's the best defensive player in Browns history, which is saying a lot.
Yeah.
Right? And so, I'm just still puzzled by. Remember when he alluded to, I know the plan, and here he comes, and what's coming next? So I think this is a good week though for Myles to kind of take a deep breath as well, and come to the realization that this is going to be a long grind of a season. It's not headed in a good direction right now, so he's got to come to that reality.